Well, hey, welcome to the Thrive Collective. Small business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, this is your show designed to help you make more money, avoid costly mistakes, and fully integrate your faith into your life, into your leadership. I am Rob Hughes, your host, and it's a joy to be with you. Now, today is a special day. So, Thrive Collective family, we have a family member with us here from the Story Brand Certified Guide community. Dear friend, Mr. Curt Stockwell is with us today. I'm thrilled to have him with us. He is the owner of Well Dressed Walrus, which is a marketing agency out of Spokane, Washington. They really specialize in website development and hosting, but this guy is a ninja. I'm talking like 7th degree black belt ninja when it comes to creating online sales funnels and ultimately designing the client experience. Now, today we're going to be talking about the customer journey. What does it look like to communicate with a project or with a client through their project at each stage of the journey? You may think that at the delivery that is the one and done, but it's not. Every step of the process is important, and it communicates something about your brand, then the quality that you provide, and really the experience that you're offering. So I'm thrilled to have Curt with us today. You know, as we begin our time today, Thrive Collective community, I want to just share with you a verse that you may have heard me speak on before, but it is so central to our business at Hughes Integrated. See, our marketing agency fully believes this one single proverb we believe the whole Bible, but this one single proverb has really created a battle cry for each of us on our team. And it's this, Proverbs 28:1 says, "The wicked run when no one is chasing them, but the godly are bold as lions." Bold as lions. So taking that verse apart, the wicked running when nobody's chasing them, what does that communicate to you? When I read that, I think, running when nobody's chasing me, it's almost like false evidence appearing real. Fear. Fear is what we're talking about. The wicked run when nobody chases them. This idea of fear that can be a controlling factor of your life for the wicked. But the other side of that coin is the godly are bold as lions. And I love the contrast of this verse, because if the absence of dependence on God, if the absence of surrender to the Holy Spirit leads me down a path of fear, then the contrast of life with Jesus at the center, walking in step with the Spirit, fully dependent on the Holy Spirit, has to lead to confidence. Bold as lions. So no matter where you find yourself right now, as you're driving in the car, listening to this, as you're getting ready in the morning, listening to the podcast, however you're consuming this piece of content, this information, my question to you is, what's driving your life today? Is it fear? Or is it the bold courage that you were designed to live authentically in? And I'm here to tell you, Thrive family, you cannot willpower your way into courage. For a short time, maybe. You can't willpower your way into being bold as lions. Not the way God intended. Because it doesn't say the best people are bold as lions. It doesn't say certain people are bold as lions. It says godly people are bold as lions. And there's only one way that I know to fully live that description out, and that's to walk in step. So if you're listening to this podcast, you understand what I'm saying. Our courage, our strength, our focus comes from something far greater than any willpower can manufacture. God has a bold future in mind for you. And I pray that you continue to lean into that, discern it, and live courageously through it. And my brother Curt is walking with bold courage. In fact, beyond himself walking, he serves as a guide for the clients that his agency serves around the country and probably even around the globe to make an impact with the purpose and plans that God has for them. The clients that he serves want to make a difference. And ultimately, Curt's there as the guide to help them do that through powerful communication tools and frameworks that he uses. So I'm thrilled to have you here, brother. It's going to be exciting to kind of talk through the customer journey and how to communicate well with our clients through every single project that they experience. Because, man, there's a lot of challenges to doing this wrong. So welcome, Curt, to the Thrive Collective.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Man, thanks for that message too. That was really encouraging. You know, my wife and I are believers, and we've talked many times that during this pandemic and during this quarantine, how, you know, when you could just live in fear and uncertainty, you can really start making a lot of poor decisions. You could start, you know, really affecting your health and your mindset, and that just kind of bleeds down to everybody who's associated with you. And, you know, what we've been seeing is, man, God's really using this as an opportunity to bring people back to him. I think even in the case of online churches, online church, you know, meetings and stuff, I think even pastors are getting back to, man, what's important here is our personal relationships, one-on-one relationships with Christ, because all of the other fluff and production of doing church has been eliminated, you know, and it's just down to what's real. So I'm excited for this pandemic and this quarantine rather to be done, like everybody else is.
Yeah.
But I'm also really excited to hear that those who are allowing the Holy Spirit to guide them and direct them, allowing the Lord to guide them and direct them, are learning new ways to be confident. And that verse is so appropriate right now. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So, you know, as we think about this, the customer journey, what, so the topic customer journey, what does that mean and why is that relevant as we're guiding small business owners and entrepreneurs to helping them build a successful and thriving business? Why does the customer journey matter? What is it? Kind of give us some context here.
Yeah. So our company, like you said, we do website development and we do marketing strategy. So our journey for our customer is more than just like a single transactional scenario. Like they're not walking into a store, buying a t-shirt and walking out, right? And I imagine that a lot of people listening today have transactional journeys with their customers that are a little bit more lengthy than just a single, you know, one and done kind of a purchase and leave. And when you have and so what I'm going to be talking about today really has more to do with those who are in a relationship with their customer that's longer than just, you know, a quick transaction. So our process for our customers can, you know, take anywhere from a couple months to like a year of implementing strategies and processes and deliverables, mostly kind of in the digital space. But through that process, we are constantly communicating with them to let them know, you know, what we're working on for them, what we're expecting from, what we're working on for them, what we're expecting from them, you know, different milestones where we're hitting our goals, different milestones where we need to you know, do a little bit more work, different milestones where our team is heavy in getting stuff done, different times where we need them to you know, work a little bit harder on getting us some resources or whatnot. And during that process, it can get it can feel like you're trudging through mud. It can feel like at some point the shine of this project really starts to get dull. And when that happens, you as a company who's delivering that product can get frustrated or can get can lose focus, and your customers can lose focus as well. And when that starts to happen, when it really comes down to a lack of communication through the process, and then, you know, the final deliverable kind of gets a little bit less than everybody was expecting. And it really is, it's not any one thing through the process, it's a lot of little things. And when you can communicate well through a process, that takes a little bit longer. Everybody wins in the end, and everybody feels, like they're getting what they paid for. And so what we do is 10 years ago when we started Well Dressed Walrus, we said that we were going to be committed to being the Nordstrom of communication. So are you familiar with the store Nordstrom?
I see it on my credit card bills.
Yeah, exactly. So, we're on the West Coast, and I don't know how extensive like the Nordstrom stores are, nationwide. I think it's
Yeah.
a pretty well-known
Oh yeah.
company.
Yeah, it's over here. Yep.
Yeah, but Nordstrom is committed to a customer experience, right?
Mm.
So if you can, when you say, this is like Nordstrom level fill in the blank, then this is high quality, right? And so when I rally my team around the idea of communication, I say, hey, we're not the Walmart of communication. Nothing against Walmart, but you would know if I'm going to go in and buy a T-shirt from Walmart, I should expect a certain type of experience, right? When I go in and buy a shirt or clothes from Nordstrom, I should expect a totally different kind of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm paying more because that experience is next level. So when we are, we're not the cheapest in town, we're not the most expensive in town either. But when we deliver our product and it's at a premium price, it's because you're getting Nordstrom level care, right? And that's what people want. And that's how you start attracting the right type of customers that you want to serve, is when they see value in what you're delivering and they know that it's going to be an experience that's next level. So when I was breaking down like our company 10 years ago and like, who do we want to be? It really came down to communication. That's the thing that we want to be really, 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 really good at. And all of the other things, we're skilled at web development, we're skilled at design, we're skilled at content writing, we're skilled at all of those things. But if communication falls apart, then all of those things that we think we're good at are not going to be as well received from our customers. Does that make sense?
Essential. I think of, if you're having challenges in your marriage and you go into a counselor, what's the first thing that the counselor's probably working on? And it's communication.
Yep.
Or in wartime, if trying to really take the enemy down, what's one thing if you take out, it could really destroy them? It's communication. Take out the communication towers. Take out the communication. It's essential. And if what we're talking about here in the digital space, I mean, a lot of companies are moving from brick to click right now. And so communication, the handshake agreements and the interaction with others, like we really got to be sure that we've got systems and process in the digital environment to maintain that.
Yeah.
Whether it be through delivery and follow-up and so on. It's about relationship. Communication is the foundation of trust and relationships.
Yep.
So what does that look like? Do you guys take like a phased approach at this? If it's like setting the expectations and following through on delivery, like explain your process for that.
I think one of the things I wanted to bring up is I think the title that we talked about for this conversation was your product causes problems. I don't know if that was what we wanted to, what you ended up using, but what that means is, and I heard that this was probably a couple of years ago, I heard somebody talking about the fact that when somebody buys something from you, it creates a series of problems for them. Because especially when you have a deliverable like we do, or like probably many people listening do, is when somebody buys, let's say, a website from us, and it's a gigantic thing that it's taken us a few months to create, working through all the copy and the design and the approvals and the custom development and the database, yada, yada. They're trying to run their business at the same time that they're trying to get us the deliverables that we need to create their product. So we realize, and I tell my team this all the time, we have to be conscious and empathetic to the fact that this process is creating problems for them. And they're having to shift their calendar and their mindset and their team into a new kind of headspace to deliver the thing that we're helping them ultimately, produce. Now, if you don't have the mindset that your product is causing problems for people, problems, quote unquote, then you kind of get this like, well, why wouldn't they get that deliverable to me? Or what the heck's taken so long? Or I asked them for this, that's not what they gave me. they were supposed to give me this in this format, and they gave it to me in this format. Especially in this from brick to click kind of scenario, we're asking people in some cases to understand technology that they've never understood before.
Yes.
And so when you don't have empathy to realize that you are asking them to do something that's outside of their normal process, then you're getting frustrated. They're getting frustrated. And if you and your team especially don't realize, like, hey, everybody that we're serving, we're asking them to follow a process that we've created because we know that it is the best way to deliver the thing that we're creating.
Mm.
That doesn't mean that everybody's just going to fall in line immediately and do it how we want to do it. And so we need to be coaches as well, almost kind of like technology coaches from time to time.
Yep.
Like, hey, we want to get this resource delivered to us in this way. Maybe it's through like Google Docs, or maybe it's through you've got a file share process or something like that. And they're like, I don't understand it. I'm just going to give it to you, through a bunch of,
here's a floppy disk.
Yeah, here's a floppy. Yeah, exactly. Here's a floppy disk, or I'll email you a thumb drive, or, and so in some cases you can shift your process, but in other cases, we know that our process is airtight in a way that helps you, the customer, save money and succeed in the end. So what we'll do is say, hey, that is actually not going to work for us, and here's why. Do you have time to jump on a quick phone call? We can do a screen share, and I can talk you through how to do this, because it really makes a big difference in the bottom line and the budget for this project if we can do it this way. I'm trying to save you money, and I'm trying to be most efficient for you, because we know that this will help you win. So if you've got a system or a process that you want somebody to adhere to, they have to know that it's because it's helping them win. It's not because you're just being a stick in the mud saying, no, this is how we do it. And when you have a lengthy process, you can start, like I said, some of that shine kind of comes off the penny there, and you start to get a little, dull in your thinking. The team starts to get a little frustrated, and everybody kind of starts to lose empathy and kind of that team feeling, we're all in this together, and attitudes start getting stinky, right? And the customer starts getting frustrated. They keep asking me to do this stuff. I don't know how to do it, and that all is another aspect of communication.
I love the intentionality that you've taken, Curt, with your team to really express empathy to clients and take that next step. Jump on a quick call. Nowadays, Zoom. In fact, we're recording this by using the Zoom technology. It seems like that's become a household name for a lot of people. I don't know, with their viewership and membership has just gone through the roof.
Yeah.
But even a 5-minute Zoom call. I had a prospect this last week, a state university here, and they had some clarifying questions. I said, hey, can we just jump on about a 10-minute Zoom call? And boom, 10 minutes. We got everybody on the same page. It was so easy just to walk through that experience with them and to talk them through it and do screen share. Loom is another great technology too for some of the explainer videos that we've been using. LOOM, loom.com. It's a great way to do quick explainer videos and send those by email. I love the empathy that I'm hearing from your team at Well Dressed Walrus. So, okay. All right.
BombBomb's another good one. You can, it's a service that you can put a video right in an email. And so you could just, make a quick BombBomb video like, hey, Rob, I sent you an email yesterday asking for this. And the reason why I'm asking for it is that. And if you get stuck on this process at all, when you click the link below, please reach out and let's have a phone call. And like you said, you mentioned Zoom. What I love about this quarantine is it's forcing people to use technology that they've always been scared of. And now it's an essential thing that you figure it out or you go out of business. And so people are like, all right, I'm figuring it out. And now I was actually just talking to a client yesterday, and she said, I don't think I'm going to do in-person meetings anymore because it takes me time. It takes the customer time. It takes, the planning and strategy of driving all the way across town for me or my customer. And I've talked to multiple customers and they're like, this is great. We just need to keep doing Zoom. And
Yeah.
so this is something that this is like a blessing for doing exactly what we're talking about, is having these communication conversations. Just say, hey, let's jump on a Zoom call. In another couple months, everybody's going to know how to do a Zoom call. And so you won't have that issue anymore. People like, no, I don't do that. And so that's fantastic. You asked about our process, and I'll go into a little bit about our process, because there's some things that we do intentionally to make sure that our clients are aware that we are wanting to have conversations early and often, and are committed to them. And it also, again, committed to a process that we've created that they need to adhere to so we can help them win. And I think sometimes when some people listening who are like, yeah, I have a process and nobody follows it, and then I do their process and it falls apart every single time and I get frustrated. Well, you can't deviate from what works. You're the professional. They're hiring you because you are the professional. Okay. And there's a point where you need to kind of square your shoulders a little bit and go, okay, we're doing this process because of this reason, and we're not going to deviate from it. And you can do that in a way that's collaborative and empathetic. So with that said, stick to your process because you're the professional. They hired you because you know what you're doing. Okay. So one of the things that we do right out of the gate is, in our contract, we have certain rounds of revisions. And I think rounds of revisions are important for people to understand. Like when we're doing a deliverable that's a creative kind of a thing, especially, and you don't have a specific rounds of revisions that you and the customer have agreed to, you're going to get into so many revisions and you're going to start losing money. You're going to be frustrated with them. They're going to think everything's great because they just get to keep asking you to change it. And it's going to be great until 2, 3, 4 months later when they're like, why isn't this thing done yet? And you're going, because you keep changing it. And they're like, well, no, I told, but I should be able to change it. You're like, yeah, but then I need time to, we've all been there, right? So
if you're listening and laughing along with me, these are like, I get it. I've walked in those shoes. I felt that pain chuckles over here.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, I'm sure many of you listening have
so
yeah, so go ahead. So you guys specify
right,
the quantity of
revisions. In our contract, we have certain rounds of revisions for the different deliverables. And then when we are getting, when let's say a design, like a homepage design for a website, we say we're going to deliver it, and then we're going to do 2 more rounds of revisions. And then our team is very specific, and our project managers are very specific. She says, this is round 1. This is round 2. This is round 3. And, and then she'll politely say, just a reminder, if we need additional rounds of revisions, it will cost additional dollars. And, we can have a conversation about that if you have any questions. And then when it comes to, like copy or content, hey, this is the first deliverable. We're in round 1 of this conversation, round 2 of this conversation. Hey, just a reminder, if we need additional rounds, it might, it may cost additional dollars. And so when you send that bill or have that conversation of it required additional rounds of revisions, then your customer's not like, whoa, what's this bill for? Because you've been talking about it since the contract, and you've committed to continue to communicate about it in each deliverable. So there's no surprises. The thing is, we think that our customers remember every single little detail and nuance about our contracts and our conversations. And what they hear is, oh, good, you're going to solve my problem and deliver it in 2 months. Fantastic. And then whoop, they turn their brain off, and that's just, it's understandable because, again, they're running their business, right?
Yes.
And you're delivering this change into their life, and they're having to shift and change their processes and their teams and stuff. And do you know what is going to be put on the back burner if all of the, what hits the fan with their company or their process or something happening in their week or their month? You are going to be put on the back burner because they're trying to take care of their tribe and their customers and their team. And this project that they're working on with you, although it's important to you, might not be as important to them for some reason because life happens, you know? And so you need to be continually communicating and setting boundaries.
See, I love just hearing your advice and counsel here, Kurt, because I mean this so aligns with Story Brand.
Mm,
We want to put on the lens of the ideal client, put on the lens of the client, see the world through their eyes. Remember, this is not your business telling your business's story. This is not your business. It's not your business centered story. It's your business's client's story that your business is there to help.
right,
You are the guide, listener. You are the
right.
guide to your client's story. So stay empathetic with them.
Yep.
Understand, that you it might be a rude awakening. You're not the highest priority for them.
No, you
If
are
their
not.
kid came home sick from school, that becomes the highest priority. Yeah, they may not answer your email. Don't get irritated by them for that. Start with empathy.
Right.
Choose curiosity over frustration.
Yep. Absolutely.
This is such good. So you guys are communicating through every stage. This is round
Yep.
one. This is round two. Keeping the clarity. Okay.
Yep.
What other pro tips would you give us then for
I
clear
would,
communication
yeah,
through the journey?
I would say every single week during this process, you're sending an update email. So we use a system called Basecamp, which helps us um, create systems and processes within our camp to make sure that we're doing everything we need to do to deliver the project. And we invite customers into the Basecamp little software. I don't know if a lot of people probably heard of Basecamp, and Basecamp's a great resource for making sure that for doing project management. So every Monday we send our customers an update, and the update, I have just 3 things, very simple. It's not paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs, because the reality is they're not going to read it. Okay. So we've got very simple things. We say what we've completed, what we're working on, what we're waiting on from you. And sometimes we say what we've completed, nothing at this time. What we're working on, nothing at this time. What we're waiting on from you, bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And sometimes we've sent that same Monday follow-up 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row because something happened on their end, right? And they've had to kind of shut down this process. But when we do hear back from them, they say, "Hey, thank you so much for communicating. Keep sending those Monday emails because it helps me remember what I need to do and what you're waiting on." And such and such happened where there was a death in the family and I had to fly to whatever and deal with whatever. But I'll get back to you when everything kind of settles down. Do we stop sending those emails every Monday? No, we don't. We keep sending them. And we've had clients before say like, "Hey, you don't need to send those if you don't want to." We're like, "No, we'll just keep sending them because things get busy and it's always just nice to have that reminder." You have to keep communicating with your customers on what you're waiting on from them, what you're working on, and what you've completed, because they want to know that especially if they've given you a deposit or if they're making payments on stuff, they want to know that you're getting stuff done. And so
Isn't
that's why
that something? Yeah.
that's why the what we've completed what we're working on is important. Sometimes we say what we've completed, nothing at this time. What we're working on, we're still working on this, and we expect that to be done, in 2 weeks. Maybe it takes us 2-3 weeks to work on something, and the client's like, "Man, fine, that's great." And they're kind of going, and then what we're waiting on from you, nothing at this time. So when we send those, clients are like, "Fantastic, you guys are working. I know you're working. I trust you're working. I don't have to think about it for the next 3 weeks because you've told me what you're working at." Now, do we go dark for 3 weeks? No, we still communicate every Monday.
Okay, so I love that. So do you interweave this communication email with a physical progress review meeting, like a status update or a progress review?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, the different projects require different levels of communication. So we have a client we're working on a huge website for them. And every Monday we send the update, and then every other Thursday we actually have a meeting with them and their team because they've got a team of like 12.
Hmm.
But those meetings, last about 30 minutes, maybe, because
Because
we're communicating so well through the process. And a lot of times we get to those meetings and they're like, do you know what you're doing? Yep. Do you know what you're doing? Or, the client, our lead at the company we're working for is kind of managing this. They're like, hey, I saw that Well Dressed Walrus communicated with you, Dave, and with you, Sharon, and with you. Does everybody know what they're doing? Yep, everybody knows what they're doing. Okay, fantastic. Everybody have a great week. How many meetings do we want like that every week? I mean, that's the kind of meetings I want,
no
not
kidding.
long and drug out.
And primarily, you've got this discipline of the weekly, and you choose Monday. Monday
Yeah.
better than Friday for those emails?
It depends on, we do Monday because we have every Monday our team gets together and discusses every single project and where we are on the project. 'Cause that's another thing too, is if you have a team, you can't, you have to have a weekly huddle with your team so everybody knows what the other person's working on, because there's times where you're like, hey, I'm waiting on this from you. Oh, you are? Yeah, I messaged you about it Thursday. Oh, shoot, I missed that. Oh, I'm glad you said something, because yeah, I'll get that right to you. I didn't realize you were waiting on that from me. And that just happens. But where that becomes a problem is 2-3 weeks later, they're like, well, where's this deliverable? I don't know. I was waiting on it from Sharon. Oh, you were? You know,
Yeah.
that's an issue. And then your customer's like, why isn't this done? And you're like, oh, because internally we put our heads in the sand and didn't talk to each other.
Yeah, that could be an issue as well. Internal communication, absolutely critical.
So we have our
Yeah.
team meeting on Monday, which just kind of leads really well into our project manager being able to craft those Monday updates.
Hmm.
And so, yeah,
Okay,
that's
makes
how
good
we work.
sense.
Yeah.
So, other pro tips that you would offer us here, Curt, in regards to the client journey and communicating externally. Anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah. So when you're going through the contract and you're getting the contract signed, you need to ask some very specific questions, especially if the client has a team. You don't want 4 people that you're answering to, and you don't want 4 voices giving approvals on stuff, because inevitably 2 of those voices will disagree with one another and they're like approved, and the other one's like, no, not approved, or like, do it this way, and then the other one's like, do it this way, and you're like, which way are we doing it? So one of the things in our contracts is we say there needs to be a single point of contact for Well Dressed Walrus that we're receiving all of our answers from. Now we can talk with team members, but until I hear from Lori that that's what you're doing, we're not doing it. Right? Because that will get you down rabbit trails if you have multiple voices telling you what to do. And you communicate that, right out of the gate. And so like you're sitting in a room of like that client that I was talking to you about when we did the contract and kind of got started, we were sitting in a room of 12 people. And it was evident that Lori was kind of leading it, and she's the one that kind of reached out to us. So I'm like, okay, so Lori, are you our single point of contact? She's like, yep, that'll be me. And everybody in here knows Lori gives us the final approval on stuff. That just keeps everything running smooth. And everybody's like, yep, nodding their head. Because when you have those conversations when the penny's nice and shiny, everybody's excited about it. And everybody's agreeing because they're like, yay, we're getting this thing finally done. But when if you try to infuse those conversations in like month 2, they're like, wait, what? You're changing the process on us now? You have to have it early and often. Another thing too, kind of a pro tip, is ask them, hey, in this process of getting these things done, does that change anything for you that's going to cause a problem that we need to know about? Or are there people that we need to get deliverables from who are going on vacation for a month, or who are going to be focused on other projects within your team, and we can't realistically depend on them for this or that in 3 weeks? And so they're like, oh yeah, well actually Brian is going to Australia for 3 weeks in the middle of June. Is that going to be a problem? Oh yeah, well we better make sure we get our information from Brian before he leaves. That's good information. Thanks for letting us know that. So you're having those conversations early, again, about the process that you know is and or the deliverables that you know are coming up and the milestones that you know. Again, when you start establishing those things right away as the professional that they hired to come in and lead their team during this time, when you say, hey, hold on a minute, remember our process that we all agreed to back in February? Oh yeah, I do. I remember that. Okay, that's what we're sticking to, right? Yep, that's what we're sticking to. Does that
Love,
make
love,
sense?
love the clarity of that, the alignment of that, the expectations. Love having that internal point person, a single point of contact. I think it could clear so much up. And you're exactly right. You try to backtrack at month 2, month 3, month 4, and try to embed some of these systems in there, and that can look clunky. So start the contract right. Start the relationship on a strong clarity note.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of, they really hired you to be the guide. So you
Yep.
bring the system, you bring the process, and
Yep.
that ultimately is going to keep things clean moving forward. I love it.
Yep. Yep, exactly. And so, you think of it like if you're taking your customers on a journey and you're like a survivalist and you're taking them through, the Brazilian jungle or something like that, right? They've hired you to take them on this trek, but there's going to be moments when you're like, no, don't do that or don't do this. I'm trying to keep you alive, right?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
it's similar in the sense of, the journey that you're taking them on in this whatever project you're working on. They're looking to you to guide them to success. One thing I would say, we were talking about the Enneagram a little bit earlier. I would say that you need to really consider who your project manager is and their Enneagram style, their Enneagram number. Like our project manager is an Enneagram 8, which is perfect because
Mm.
she does not get pushed around. She does not deviate from the plan. And I'm a 3, so I can get a little bit in my creative brain. I'm kind of a 3 with a 4 wing, so I can get creative and like, oh, let's do it this way now, or let's do it this way, or this client's a little unique. Let's change what we're doing. She's like, no, 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 no. And so I have to be reeled in from time to time, and I need that from a personality type like an 8 who's committed to doing it right. That keeps me on track. So if you another something to consider too is if you need a good project manager if you have a team, and if you are doing deliverables like a larger multi-thousand-dollar project, if it's just kind of a solopreneur and you're knocking out shorter deliverables, you can probably do this just within your own setting up these systems and processes. But as soon as you start to grow, or if you are growing and you're looking to hire that project manager, it's got to be somebody that will stay rooted and committed to what you've agreed to. And as a leader, you're giving them this, and we document our systems and processes. So our systems and processes are documented, and they can always look back at it and go, what am I supposed to do here? Oh, I'm supposed to do this. Or Jana can say, no, 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 Curt, this is the process that we agreed to. And here's the, go look at it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's right. You know,
So I'm just so curious. I'm sure the listeners are just so curious as well, Curt, just the different personality types that you've got on your team.
yeah.
50,000-foot view without diving too deeply into it. Could you just kind of give us a sense of what the structure of your agency looks like and the personality types
Yeah.
that kind of fit in there?
Yeah. So I'm an Enneagram 3. And if you know anything about the 3s, they're, the driven, want to win. And a lot of times business owners are 3s or 8s. I've got a 4 wing, so I can definitely get into kind of the creative. I want to be different than everybody else. Hello, Well Dressed Walrus is the name of our company. Um, that's definitely some nuances of a 4 right there, I think. But my business partner is a 9, and so he is really good at uh, understanding how everybody's feeling. Where sometimes I'm like, I don't care how you feel, get it done. And so he's very so he feels a lot, and he's great because he's a developer. So I'm kind of from the design creative side, and he's the one that is leading our development team to implement things into that digital space. But also he's got a lot of empathy as a 9. So he's really good at talking to our customers through a process that's confusing, because he just wants people to know, he wants to know that people are understood, and he wants to know that people are taken care of. So I always joke that Andy's a developer with a personality. And so our lead developer, his name's Jeffrey, and I think he's probably a 5 or a 6.
Mm-hmm.
So again, he doesn't like doing things that he doesn't know how to do. So he's going to ask a lot of questions, and he's going to push back if, like, you're not giving me all the information, and I'm not moving forward till I get all the information, which is great, because sometimes as a creative, I'm just like, just do it, and that can get your team in trouble, when you don't have, you aren't committed to getting them what they need. So he's good at saying, like, and he's definitely like like he's absolutely an under promise over deliver kind of a person. So I'm just giving you the leadership of the company. And then Jana is our project manager, and she's an 8. She doesn't know anything about how these digital things get created. She doesn't care about, how Photoshop works with WordPress, or how WordPress works with this plugin or that plugin. She doesn't care. She just wants to know that somebody's getting it done, And so, like I said, she's an 8, and she's not going to move off of her, what she's committed and where she's rooted, which is great, because she holds all of us, to task. I joke that she's a professional squeaky wheel. And so she's going to be a squeaky wheel for our customers, and she's going to be a squeaky wheel for our team. And she's great with our customers too, because like I said, there's an aspect of empathy, which you're helping guide them through a process. But there's also an aspect of, hey, we're out here in the Brazilian forest, and I'm trying to keep you alive. So stop doing that and do it this way, because we want to see you succeed, And so she'll say, like if a customer is trying to deviate from the plan or deviate from our process, she's very committed to, like, hey, no, that's not how we do it, and here's why. If you have any questions about that, or if you feel like that's not going to work, we want to talk about, where you're feeling stuck. And so schedule a time with Curt, schedule a time with Andy. We can jump, you and I can jump on a phone call, Jana. And, I just want to talk with you, why you're feeling like this isn't going to work for you. And I want to explain to you why we feel like it needs to work for you, because, we want to see you win in the end. Right. And especially when you talk about things like, we really want to make sure that we're sticking to your budget and making the most of your dollars. Then they're like, okay.
Okay, I'll pay attention. I'll listen.
Yeah, I'll pay attention. Right. Exactly.
But having that 8 personality, the challenger personality, that's interesting, because and it's also quite curious to me. They don't necessarily have to be a master technician, but they've got that personality that could be the glue and hold people, their timelines, feet to the fire kind of a thing. It's very interesting.
Yep.
Love that. Okay, so Curt, before I know Cassie on our team has got a question for you that she'd like to ask.
Oh, sure.
And are there any other advice that you might offer before we pivot to questions, and then we'll close our time together? Anything others that you had prepared that you want to make sure that you share?
I'm sure there is some stuff that I'll remember once we jump off the call, but I feel like I've hit a lot of the highlights. And again, like I said, it's knowing your process, documenting it with your team. You guys, and we're constantly making changes to how we do things. Like just today, we had a phone call. I was talking with my business partner, and when we do website hosting, sometimes we have to like change passwords for clients for a security reason. And there's a automatic email that goes out that says your password's been changed. And I had a friend of mine who we do a website for, and he's like, hey, what's this? Why is my password? People like, I'm like, okay, let's change our process where we have an email that goes out explaining, hey, Mike, just so you know, that security thing you were worried about, let's just change the password just in case. And this is what's going to happen. You're going to get an email from the system. This is what it means. Don't worry about it. Just click on that and then send the email, the password change. Now, that's a process that we just literally implemented today because we didn't see it, yesterday. And so it popped up, and so we make a shift. right? And so as soon as we have a customer that says like, I don't understand, then we look at our process and go, is there anything about our process that needs to change so we can communicate better? And then we put it in a system and a process that all our team understands and adheres to. And then next time that happens, there's something that they can look at. And often there's times where I am, as the creative and the writer, are crafting that email for them and like, here's how you say it in a way that's not slippery and confusing and has empathy. You mentioned the Challenger, the 8.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that 8s are not very good at is like the empathy conversation. They're like, get it done. What's your problem? Pull your head out of your butt. And so there's times where I've written, I'm like, okay, when they do this, send this type of email or this type of response. And so Jana, she's great, but again, she's like, I get it. I don't speak with empathy a lot of times, and I come across a little harsh. So I'll write it and then she'll just copy and paste it, and it's something that she just goes to the document. Like, client has questions about this. I'm going to grab this little chunk, paste that into the Basecamp reply. And it's very sweet and it sounds nice. And it's been explained by a 3 with a 4 wing rather than an 8.
Nice communication hack there for internal varying Enneagram types.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is awesome. Well, Cassie, you had a question. I know project management related perhaps or something else. Go ahead with your question, Cassie.
Yeah, well, first of all, I feel like I really love Jana. She sounds awesome. Shout out to Jana. Stay your 8 strong. She don't have a problem with that. But I was curious, and maybe I think you kind of talked a little bit about it, having that like one main point of contact for approval, but who in your team is your one point of contact for the client, or is there not just one point of contact?
Yeah, so it'd be Jana. Yep. So we established that right out of the gate as well is, we use Basecamp, and the reason we use Basecamp is this, that, and so you're going to hear from a lot of us, from the team leads, from me, Jeffrey, Andy, or Jana, me, Jeffrey, or Andy, as we're communicating about stuff. But if you have questions about anything or you're confused about anything, Jana is your go-to. And so for us, it's hard to have a single point of contact from our team because it's kind of like telephone game a little bit. Now, there's definitely organizations and groups that have, gigantic teams, and they do have that project manager who is the only point of contact. And, that makes sense. But for us, it works out well. And especially because Basecamp does such a great job of the communication thread on a specific topic, because I can jump into a thread and add my comment while Jana's adding her comment, and we see what the other person's saying, so we're not saying conflicting things. Again, it really comes down to the project management tool that you're using. And for us, that process with Basecamp works out great. Now, if you're doing only email communication for a large project, God bless you. You got to figure out something else. Because email is the worst when you're trying to go back and forth on communicating. So I think you got to kind of assess your own team and then what project management tool you're using to communicate with the client. Does that answer your question?
No, that's great. I was just curious because you said that Jana was kind of like that glue. So I didn't know if she was front facing or if she was just internal.
Yeah. So. Another thing too is she can see every single conversation, and she does. She kind of hovers sometimes to make sure that, things aren't being said that are not on task. And there's times where she'll be like, hey, message me separately. I noticed that you mentioned to the client this. That's actually not true. Oh, crap. It's not? Remind me. And she's like, this and this is actually what's happening. I'm like, oh, shoot. So I'll go back into and go, oh, hey, sorry about that, Sharon. I messed up. I was confused about, what we were doing here. This is actually what we're doing. But thank God Jana's there hovering, and again, as an 8, she's not scared to challenge me as the business owner. Like, hey, you're doing it wrong, dummy. And I've given her that permission to do that. And so that's, again, that it comes down to the project management tool. If we were just doing email only, she wouldn't be able to have that ability to hover and view what everybody's talking about. And there's times where this is one of those process things that we're trying to keep you alive in the jungle. Clients will get out of Basecamp, email one of us separately, say, hey, here's the information you need about this, or I got a question about that. And our team knows if anybody does that, you take the conversation, bring it back into Basecamp, say, hey, Sharon, I'm going to pick up this conversation here in Basecamp because it's really important for us to stay committed to this communication process. Here's the answer to your question. Please reply back, to this thread. And a lot of times you have to do customer training a little bit with people and get them back into. And then there's times where we've had customers who, man, they just keep emailing, and we gotta bring it back into Basecamp every single time. And again, it's one of those things, like, for whatever reason in their business, in their process, they're trying to run their life, and email's just easiest for them, and they just keep defaulting to it. And we're just going to keep politely bringing them back in. And I'll tell my team, you know what, sometimes for the next 3 months, Sharon's going to be sending us emails, and we're just going to deal with it. It's not that big of a deal, right? Now, if Sharon's like, hey, I want to shift from this process or I want to totally add a whole new deliverable, and it should have been part of the contract, then we can be like, hold on a minute. No. And then we can push back. But you got to be wise about the things that you push back on. If it's taking something from an email and putting back into your communication platform, what does that take? 30 seconds, And again, you're politely reminding. And if they don't listen, I mean, again, does it really matter? In some cases it does. In other cases it doesn't. It's, what hill are you willing to die on?
Well,
helpful. Thank you.
As I think of the entrepreneurs, the business leaders, the small businesses that tune into this podcast, really listen. If you're not intentional about taking the reins of your communication and creating clarity both internally and externally, it's not going to happen by default.
Mm-mm.
It does not happen. In fact, over time, things have a way of drifting to atrophy, to drifting to chaos.
Yep.
And communication is such an essential element of a well-run and healthy run practice in business. So avoid the costly mistake of not being proactive in creating a clear communication plan and walking your customers through each step of the journey. Put on the hat of your ideal customer. What is it like to do business with you? What is it like to get that proposal? What is it like to sign it and then wait? What is it like to receive the first progress review? What is it like to sit on a Monday and wonder, are they even doing anything for me? Right. And how can you proactively kind of disarm those objections, those issues, those concerns? Curt, I got to tell you, this has been awesome. Thank you for investing this time with the Thrive Collective community and sharing just some tools and ideas of how we can make the customer journey that much more effective. It's awesome. Thank you.
I want to leave everybody with a quote that I love and I often tell my team, and it's from a business coach that we had years ago. And the thing that he would always tell us is communication is the response you get. So if you're getting a poor response from your customer, it's probably because you didn't communicate well.
Ooh, I like that.
Communication is the response you get. Now, is that the case 100% of the time? No. There's some people out there who are just really hard to work with and work for. But the majority of people you're working with, if there is, in a lot of times too, a problem with a customer really comes down to perceived indifference. And so they're perceiving something in a way that is not correct. They're thinking that you're feeling something or you're not listening to them or whatever. So if you're getting some sort of weird communication back from them, again, communication is the response you get. You got to think through how could this have gone? How could this communication have been better? And then jump on a call. I mean, in this digital age too, man, get on a Zoom call, get face to face with people, pick up the phone, and go to their office once this quarantine's done and just say, hey, can we just have a quick, 15-minute conversation? I just want to make sure that we're cool, and a lot of times it's like, oh, well, I felt like this when you did that. Like, oh man, that wasn't my intention at all. I apologize, oh, okay, well then everything's cool, and so that has to happen sometimes as well.
Yeah. Takes courage. Be bold as lions.
Yep.
Right? It takes courage.
Exactly.
Pick up that phone. It may look like it weighs 15, 20 pounds, with that tough conversation, but lean into it. Lead courageously. Yep. Curt, this is awesome. Hey, if somebody wants to reach out to you as a response to this, how would they best get in touch with you and your business?
Yeah, there's multiple ways. You can find us online at welldressedwalrus.com, or wdwalrus.com will get you there too. If you wanted to schedule a time with me to talk about a project or just kind of talk about maybe where you're kind of feeling stuck, you can go to clarifymymarketing.com, which is there's a resource there to schedule a meeting or a phone call or a Zoom call. On social media, you can find us at wdwalrus.com. And I have a podcast that I do called The Human Side of Marketing, that if you just search The Human Side of Marketing in wherever you get podcasts, you can find that. That's just me and a friend having conversations about marketing.
Love it. Love it. Well, Curt Stockwell, thank you so much for your investment in the Thrive Collective community. It's been a joy and an honor to have you, my friend. And we'll look forward to having you back sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care.